It didn't merely cause them pain. It fractured something deep within that they have no idea how to repair. The invisible thread connecting your energies stretched until it finally tore on their end. You likely have no clue about the impact of your actions. There was no shouting, no arguments, no lengthy texts, no dramatic confrontation. You simply became quiet. You grew calm. And that calm rattled the very core of their being. You ceased chasing after someone who refused to meet you halfway. That subtle change in your demeanor sent ripples straight through their spirit. They sensed it deeply. They felt it the same way you sense the atmosphere shift right before a thunderstorm arrives. The way everything grows eerily silent, just before the skies unleash their fury, and in that instant, something inside them shattered. Welcome to Soul Signal. Subscribe today and enable all notifications so you never miss what's coming. The words you are about to receive have been traveling across time, through layers of quiet, guided by perfect divine timing, arriving exactly when your spirit summoned them. Your higher self called this message forward, and here it is. Before we continue, I want you to truly grasp one essential truth. What you did carried no malice. Stepping back was never an act of cruelty, never a form of retaliation, never a tactic or manipulation. It was simply the precise instant you chose to honor yourself above all else. And that single, silent decision cracked them wide open. They had grown accustomed to your presence. They counted on your patience. They relied on you being the one who consistently invested more emotion, exerted greater effort, clung tighter when things grew difficult. So when that pattern ended, their entire reality tilted off balance. They didn't lose you because you walked away in fury. They lost you because you stopped struggling to hold on. And that particular kind of loss cuts far deeper than any dramatic departure ever could. It's the sort of loss capable of reshaping someone's entire character. It's the kind that steals sleep for weeks on end. Right now, that is precisely what they are experiencing. A fracture has occurred deep inside, and it will never mend in quite the same shape. If you have sensed any change in the connection lately, even without a single spoken word, type, "I felt the shift," in the comments below. Your own energy already comprehends what your conscious mind is only now starting to process. Let me reveal what has been unfolding inside this individual ever since they first detected your withdrawal. The universe is revealing clear images about their inner state at this moment. What appears on the surface bears almost no resemblance to the reality beneath. On the outside they seem unchanged. They head to their job, converse with others, flash smiles at the appropriate moments, project an image of normalcy. Yet inside, nothing feels normal at all. A vital piece has broken away, and they cannot locate it to put things back together. The process began gradually. They observed your replies growing briefer. They detected a subtle difference in the warmth of your tone. They realized you no longer posed the same curious questions. They noticed your gaze no longer carried the familiar softness it once held only for them. Each tiny alteration registered like the faintest fracture line, not dramatic, just a delicate seam appearing across what they had always assumed was unbreakable. But fractures rarely remain tiny. They lengthen. They branch outward. Eventually they penetrate the very foundation that keeps everything stable. That is exactly where they stand today. The fissures have reached the heart of the structure. They attempt to drown out the discomfort. They keep themselves occupied. They surround their hours with distractions and clamor. They repeat affirmations that they are handling it well. Yet when night falls and every diversion fades, reality surges forward. They are far from fine. The longing they carry goes beyond ordinary yearning. This is a longing that touches the deepest layers of the spirit. It isn't merely your company they crave, nor simply your voice or the comfort you once provided. They yearn for the person they became in your presence, the version of themselves that felt whole, understood, and aligned only when you were near. They miss the clarity and peace that existed, because your energy quietly supported parts of them they never even realized were crumbling. And now that your energy has receded, their inner world feels chaotic and disjointed. That, my dear, reveals the true strength you held without ever forcing it. You steadied their entire existence simply by being yourself. That isn't fragility. That is the rare, transformative power of genuine love. What actually shattered was the comforting illusion they had clung to. The belief they could keep you close without ever fully choosing you. The conviction that you would remain regardless of their inconsistency. The assumption that your devotion was an endless resource they never needed to nurture or earn. That illusion lies in pieces now. Beneath the wreckage rests the rawest truth they have ever confronted. They need you. Not casually desire, but truly require you. And they remained blind to that necessity until your absence became undeniable. A wise voice once observed that human beings will invent any distraction, no matter how absurd, to escape confronting their own spirit. That describes their recent behavior perfectly. Evading emotion, cloaking themselves in justifications, erecting barriers instead of pathways, selecting ease over authenticity. But your gentle retreat stripped away every refuge they had constructed. The universe transformed your quiet into a flawless mirror positioned directly before their eyes. No escape routes remain. No more diversions shield them. Only the void where your presence once lived and the persistent ache of whatever fractured within refuses to quiet. Their spirit has stirred from its long slumber. Once awakened, a soul cannot simply drift back into unconsciousness. If you have picked up on any alteration in their vibration lately, even across physical distance, type "something is different" in the comments. Your intuition already registers what their words have yet to express. Let me paint a picture of their current daily experience, because its depth may surprise you. Each morning they awaken beneath the heavy pressure of your absence, not simply missing you, but carrying the specific burden of understanding they themselves created the reason you withdrew. That burden accompanies them from dawn until dusk. They sit motionless in their vehicle, staring blankly. They unlock their phone, navigate to your contact, gaze at your name in silence, then set the device aside because no combination of words feels sufficient. They conduct lengthy, unguarded dialogues with you entirely in their imagination. Conversations filled with the honesty they withheld when opportunity existed. In those private exchanges they voice every suppressed truth, every concealed emotion, every occasion they should have drawn you nearer, yet chose distance instead. And here is something important: you actually perceive those unspoken exchanges. They arrive as an unexpected tightness in your chest at strange times, a sudden rush of feeling without clear origin, a breath that catches when their image surfaces unbidden. That is not fantasy. That is the silent language of souls communicating across space. Their essence reaches toward yours, and yours receives the transmission. Yet those exchanges remain locked inside their mind. Each one concludes, leaving an even thicker quiet in its wake. Still, the universe rarely permits authentic expression to stay imprisoned indefinitely. The practice they undertake in solitude is rehearsal for words that will eventually emerge into reality. When that moment arrives, it will reverberate through both of you. What shattered was the belief they could exist without your light. Perhaps they once persuaded themselves that depending so deeply on anyone signaled weakness. Perhaps they equated emotional distance with strength. Perhaps they convinced themselves that concealing vulnerability meant maintaining power. Perhaps past wounds taught them that allowing someone too close invited devastation. Maybe a caregiver departed. Maybe a former partner betrayed trust. Maybe an important figure proved entirely different from who they appeared. Perhaps they constructed an entire existence designed to prevent anyone from getting near enough to wound them again. The universe observed patiently. Knowing those defenses could never stand eternally, it had already selected the precise soul capable of penetrating those barriers. Then you arrived, not randomly, but through sacred agreement. The universe positioned you in their journey because their spirit had requested exactly the kind of presence that could dismantle isolation without force. You never demanded entry. You never applied pressure. You simply existed with an open heart, demonstrating that real love arrives without harm attached. And that realization frightened them profoundly. If love could truly feel secure, then every conviction they had built their identity around would collapse. Accepting that possibility felt unbearable, so they maintained separation. They offered fragments, enough to prevent complete departure, yet never sufficient to grant genuine intimacy. And still you remained. You lingered far longer than most would have. You extended patience beyond what their actions warranted. You preserved an open heart despite countless reasons to seal it shut. But limitless patience eventually meets its boundary. You reached that boundary. You withdrew not in rage or spectacle, but with measured, peaceful grace. You ceased investing energy into a vessel that refused to reciprocate. You refused to diminish yourself further so they could remain at ease. You declined to keep waiting for someone to claim you and instead claimed yourself. That decision, your calm, resolute self-prioritization, is what finally fractured them. Not fury but serenity, not confrontation but tranquility, not abandonment but release. You carry zero obligation to apologize for any of it. You did not cause the fracture. Truth caused the fracture. And truth was destined to surface eventually. Please rest your hand gently over your heart right now. Sense its steady rhythm. That same rhythm sustained you through countless nights of uncertainty. That rhythm propelled you forward when evidence felt scarce. That rhythm selected you when others declined to. Trust its wisdom. It has remained truthful throughout. Right now your person is revisiting every shared instant, every pause, every opportunity they had to advance yet deliberately retreated. The universe replays the footage relentlessly, like an unstoppable current washing over them. They recall evenings when you needed support and they were absent. They remember texts you sent that they opened yet left unanswered. They remember the expression in your eyes during your final encounter. Not rage, but something infinitely more devastating: finality. That look haunts them repeatedly, and each recollection chips away at whatever remains intact within. Sleep eludes them. They rest motionless, eyes fixed upward, body weary yet mind racing. The loop never pauses. Your tone, your joy, the tranquility that enveloped them whenever you were near. In darkness they grasp their phone, not to contact another soul, but to contemplate your name alone. They stare as though it radiates the only authentic light remaining in their existence. Your essence lingers within those letters, and they sense its warmth even through the screen. If you recognize precisely who this message addresses, type only the first letter of their name in the comments. Your spirits will register the acknowledgement together. Occasionally they begin composing. They draft something sincere, something vulnerable. Then they reread, decide no phrase captures the enormity of their emotion, and erase everything. The quiet expands further. They encounter others and register emptiness. They share space with someone new, yet their only thought remains: this isn't you. Every comparison falls short. They never realized you had become their measure of meaning until your absence defined the standard. That absence isn't vacant. It brims with the residue of every gift you once offered. It trails them constantly, a luminous connection they cannot sever. Hear this clearly. None of their suffering stems from your fault. Your withdrawal did not invent pain. It simply illuminated pain that had existed long before, exposing that required more bravery than they will ever fully appreciate. The fracture will not reassemble identically. This time the entrance stands fully ajar and refuses to shut. Everything once concealed now pours forth. Every suppressed emotion, every preserved memory, every truth sacrificed for the illusion of safety. If this individual could face you directly this instant and speak from the unguarded center of their being, if the universe granted them one fearless breath, this is the message you would receive. I sensed your departure long before it became visible. I noticed it in the altered cadence of your voice. I felt it in the growing pauses between your sentences. I recognized it when your hand no longer extended toward mine. I convinced myself the signs meant nothing. I insisted you were merely exhausted. I promised myself the distance would shrink again, but the gap only widened until denial became impossible. I understand my role completely. I delayed far too long. I sheltered behind terror when I should have stood openly before you. I recognize the countless opportunities you extended and how I squandered each one because fear prevented me from accepting the depth you offered. You presented your entire being. I responded with absence. I possess no clear path to repair the damage. I question whether repair remains possible at all. Yet I must tell you this: your leaving forced me to confront my authentic self. Not the carefully curated exterior I display to others, but the frightened core that recoils from genuine intimacy. Because being truly loved requires being fully exposed, and exposure risks revealing every hidden imperfection I have spent years concealing. You witnessed those concealed parts, and you remained. That single fact wounds me more deeply than anything else. You saw my truth and chose to stay. Yet I was the one who fled. I am far from all right. I have not been all right since your energy first began retreating, and I refuse to pretend otherwise if pretending means denying how desperately I require your presence. I need you in a manner that terrifies me beyond any previous fear, and I regret profoundly that only your absence granted me the clarity to voice this truth. Every justification I ever constructed for withholding the love you deserved has collapsed. Pause here and allow those sentences to settle within you. Do not hurry past them. The universe has momentarily lifted the veil, permitting you to hear what their lips have not yet found courage to speak. This represents the authentic reality their silence has carried all along. The fracture marks not an ending, but the dawn of something genuine. Type, "I hear them," in the comments if those words stirred something profound within your being. Your spirit has just received the unspoken declaration their voice has not yet managed to deliver. Now I must speak directly about you, because this transmission concerns your radiance as much as their struggle. You may not fully perceive it yet, but your decision to withdraw ranks among the holiest acts you have ever performed. It stemmed from no desire to wound, no intention to instruct through hardship, no calculated maneuver. Your heart had simply grown weary of consistently being the sole participant, weary of endless solo effort, weary of channeling affection into an unfillable void, weary of anticipating recognition from someone who perpetually overlooked what stood directly before them. So you ceased, not through resentment or hostility, but through a quieter, more enduring strength. You withdrew because you finally accepted that you deserve a connection free from constant uncertainty. You deserve someone who selects you not out of fear of loss, but out of profound awareness of your worth. Perhaps the realization arrived during a solitary evening. Perhaps it struck amid an ordinary afternoon, suddenly expanding your chest with clarity. Perhaps a gentle word from another soul reminded you that love should never resemble an unsolvable riddle. Perhaps one morning you opened your eyes and encountered stillness instead of sorrow, and within that stillness your inner voice declared with certainty, "The moment has arrived." You were never mistaken for desiring those fundamentals. You never demanded excess. You requested only truthfulness, presence, and reciprocal care. Those represent the bare minimum every heart merits. The difficulty of your withdrawal testifies to the immensity of your love. The fact that you proceeded regardless demonstrates the magnitude of your evolution. You no longer resemble the person you once were. Transformation arrived softly, exactly as authentic growth always does. You ceased apologizing for possessing legitimate desires. You refused to contract yourself so others could remain undisturbed. You stopped justifying your value to someone who should have recognized it instantly. That choice represents no surrender. It answers a summons from your deepest essence. The universe witnesses this. The unseen supporters who have always surrounded you stand firmly at your back in this moment. Draw a slow, deliberate breath right now. Allow your shoulders to soften. You have shouldered tremendous weight, not merely the burden of loving them, but also the weight of questioning your decision, the weight of longing while refusing to return to old patterns. Tonight you need not carry any of it. Set it aside, even briefly. Safety enfolds you here. You are supported completely. The same forces that guided you to this point will never abandon you in shadow. Their fracture and your restoration are intricately linked. The universe labored simultaneously, shattering their defenses while mending your wholeness. One profound mind once taught that genuine transformation remains impossible until acceptance occurs. You embraced the reality of this situation. You acknowledged that affection without corresponding behavior remains only an attractive concept without roots. That acceptance liberated you. It simultaneously initiated movement neither of you anticipated. Your retreat created more than personal change. It altered the entire vibrational field between you. The universe shaped your distance into purposeful emptiness, an energetic pull that draws suppressed elements relentlessly upward. Every buried sentiment, every avoided honesty, every instance they failed to cherish your presence as the irreplaceable treasure it truly was, all of it surfaces now. That realization, not the cessation of love itself, but the sudden awareness that such warmth had never been guaranteed, shattered them. It was always a bestowed grace, and they neglected to cradle it carefully. Distance never appears without intention. This separation exists to rouse both of you, and the awakening unfolds exactly as intended. The fracture was necessary. If you deliberately chose yourself and currently stand rooted in that decision, type, "I chose me," in the comments. Those words resonate beyond the screen. They affirm your spirit. Now I must share what the universe reveals about the unfolding path ahead, because motion has already begun. You have likely sensed it for several days. A subtle loosening of what once felt immovable, a thawing of what had been rigidly frozen. That sensation of cracking is authentic. It pulses within them at this very moment. The barrier they erected to preserve separation crumbles, not attacked externally, but eroded from within. The love they hold for you has exhausted every available hiding place. It presses insistently against every rationalization, every fabricated narrative about why closeness remained impossible, and the defenses steadily weaken. An unforeseen development approaches, not through premeditated design, not because sudden courage appeared overnight, simply because the agony of your continued absence now outweighs the terror of embracing vulnerability. When the suffering of remaining unchanged surpasses the discomfort of evolution, human beings take actions they once deemed unthinkable. Perhaps a message will arrive carrying more raw honesty than intended. Perhaps a conversation will unfold in which their tone trembles from uncertainty about where to begin. Perhaps they will appear in a place where your paths naturally intersect, not coincidentally, but intentionally, heart exposed, armed with nothing except sincerity. Perhaps 3 simple words never spoken to anyone with quite this depth will finally reach you. Perhaps the gesture will appear minor to outsiders, yet hold unmistakable significance between the two of you alone. But movement is imminent. What emerges from the fracture carries authenticity. Listen closely now. Your tranquility remains holy ground. You owe no immediate reply to anyone until your heart grants permission. You are under no obligation to reopen the entrance simply because a knock finally sounds. The universe did not restore you merely to relinquish your calm at the first sign of effort. Should they approach, your intuition will discern truth from desperation. You will distinguish between someone motivated by fear of loss and someone genuinely prepared to offer love. Those motivations differ profoundly. You have journeyed too far to retreat. Whatever arrives next, you will greet it as the evolved being you have become, not as the earlier version who accepted less. Their fracture either aligns with your current location or it does not. Regardless, your completeness stands firm. The energetic atmosphere surrounding this bond shifts noticeably at present. In the days ahead you may notice confirmation, a particularly vivid dream in which they appear, and the emotion lingers long after waking, an unexplained warmth blooming in your chest, their names surfacing with uncanny timing, a bodily knowing that transformation approaches. You might glimpse repeating numbers connected to their birthday. You might overhear their names spoken in an unlikely context. None of these qualify as coincidence. They serve as gentle reassurances from the universe, affirming what your spirit already grasps. Perhaps the initial signal has already arrived. Maybe their image flashed so vividly it stole your breath. Maybe a shared song halted your movements entirely. Maybe an unexpected tug in your center informed you they were thinking of you simultaneously. The universe confirms that their fracture births renewal. They now endure their deepest inner darkness. The former self, the one who concealed, who withdrew, who prioritized safety over honesty, slowly dissolves. The emerging version finally comprehends the gravity of losing you. Whether that renewed self appears tomorrow or in weeks to come, you do not pause your life in anticipation. You continue living fully. You continue expanding. You continue stepping into your destined expression. Because here lies the essential truth. You are not passively awaiting selection. You are the one whose authentic love proved powerful enough to awaken another spirit entirely. And that spirit now navigates its most challenging metamorphosis precisely because of the sacred space your departure created. From their fracture, something undeniably honest is being born. If this entire message reached you at the precise instant your soul required it most, type "signal received" in the comments.